This muffler delete axle back is the best way to get your 2024 and newer Mustang GT to make some great noise without having to spend a ton of money. This exhaust gives the S650 GT a big injection of attitude and noise, and accordingly it gets a very strong 4 out of 5 on our loudness meter. Make no mistake, this brings the noise, so it's not for the faint of heart, but it gives you the sound you're after without you having to blow your entire mod budget on an exhaust. Quick note on fitment here before we dive in, this is designed to fit 2024 and newer Mustang GTs that are not equipped with the factory active exhaust. As I have said many a time, the Coyote V8 almost always sounds good, but in factory form, it's maybe a little too quiet for you. This axle back does exactly what it says on the box, replacing your factory mufflers at the end of the system with these straight pipes and some new tips. And as you heard from the clips at the start of the video, this is really quite loud, but it sounds absolutely awesome. By removing those mufflers, you get rid of the only things that truly dampen the noise. So not only does this flow a bit better than your factory exhaust, but it's gonna let all that Coyote goodness through. You can hear it bark and burble at pretty much every RPM, and it's deeper and louder than the stock system could ever be. Now inside of the cabin, that also means things will be louder. However, since it is only an axle back, that means your factory resonator is still in its place, so though you'll need to turn up the radio a bit, it's still plenty tolerable for a longer drive. Now capping the system off are these 3.5-inch angle cut tips. They are noticeably larger than your factory tips, and I think they just look a heck of a lot cleaner and better. They're not completely over the top, so only the keen-eyed will catch this at first glance. That is, until you fire it up. Now the other big reason you're going to want this exhaust is that it's made from T304 stainless steel, which gives you excellent protection against rust and corrosion. Plus it's all mandrel bent, TIG welded 2.5-inch diameter tubing, so exhaust gas flow is excellent here too. The tips are also T304 stainless, and they are a double wall design with that polished finish, so these two should be able to stand up to whatever you can throw their way. And frankly, it's just a nice looking exhaust too. I was really impressed when I pulled this out of the box. It's all polished almost to a mirror-like finish. The welds look nice, the hangers are reinforced. It's a really good exhaust for what you're paying for the money, and since it eliminates your mufflers, it's also a pretty significant weight savings. And while the sound and construction are both great, the best part about this might be the price. Expect to pay around $425, and that makes this one of the most affordable exhausts on the market for the S650 GT. And considering the quality of material and the sound, it's really a great price if you want an easy to install, high quality axle back. Speaking of installation, we're going to give this a 2 out of 3 on our difficulty meter, and the job should take you around 2 hours to complete, possibly a bit less. This is going to use your factory exhaust hanger locations, so it doesn't require any permanent modifications to your car, and everything should just bolt right on nice and quickly. We're also going to walk you through the process step by step right now, so for that, let's head on out to the shop.
For this install, you need a 3/8 impact and ratchet, a marker, 3/8 extension, a 16, 15, 13 swivel and 10mm socket, a pry bar, exhaust hanger tool, die grinder, hammer, and a cutting tool such as a Sawzall. And also not shown be a lift and pull jacks. All right, today we're going to be putting an exhaust on our Mustang. First, we're going to watch a quick video how to uninstall a stock system, then we'll come back here to install a new one.
So the first thing we're going to do is come to the double flange behind our cat. We have 4 15mm bolts that we can loosen up with a 15mm socket. Now we're going to leave this just like that for now as we work on the rest. One thing to keep in mind is when we go to pull this off, this little hook is keeping this on, so you're going to have to get a flathead screwdriver to pull back on that on both sides when we go to remove it. Next, we can come right behind our rear diff to this hanger. There's one on each side of this bracket. There's a 13mm bolt holding it on. So I've got a 13mm swivel socket on an extension to pop this off. And now we'll just come to the other side and do the same exact thing. And now with them both removed, you can push up to get those hangers off the hooks. And do that same thing on the other side. Now, last thing we need to do before we can remove this is remove these 2 bolts that were on the inside of those 2 hangers behind the rear diff. So I'm using that same 13mm socket with an extension. Now with those removed, we can push it up off the hook and pull that down to get the clearance we need. So now I've got myself a buddy to support the weight of the rear of the exhaust while I work on the front. We're gonna push this towards the rear to disconnect these two pipes, and then we can pull it forward to pull it out of the back hangers. So now with our exhaust removed, we can take an exhaust hanger remover tool to pop off these two hangers because we will have to reuse them for our new exhaust. Now, the last thing we need to pop off is our two clamps that are at the front of the exhaust. You can take a rubber mallet and get the edge of a pry bar on the edge of the clamp to tap these off.
All right, so once you have your factory exhaust off, now you don't need to take your exhaust off to do this. It's just definitely a lot easier. As you can see, we do have a spare exhaust here that we've already previously modified for a different type of muffler delete. I already have one side on there already just because I wanted to test it off on camera, make sure this works out. But we have our exhaust here. What you're gonna need to do is just line this up. What I did was line it up with the hanger. That's the best mounting point to go by. Just kind of line it up and put a Sharpie line of where this welded flange is here, because that it has to slip all the way onto your factory exhaust. Make that mark all the way around, and we're gonna go ahead and grab a cutting tool, such as a Sawzall as you see here, cut that off, and then as you can see over here, it slides over nicely, and then we can get this put back up into our car, and then get our axle deletes installed. All right, so now we're gonna get this cut done. I do have a buddy to help hold this. We're just gonna get this started. All right, so we're gonna start by getting the front half of our factory exhaust back up. So we have our two factory clamps, which we can slide back over here. We're gonna get our front mid muffler, slide that into our factory clamps. Then we could just get a pull jack, just gonna rest that under here, raise that up to help hold everything up in place. All right, now we're ready to get our muffler delete on. Just a quick note, I did clean up the edges on our cut piece of pipe with our die grinder and a disc, just to clean up any metal sharp edges. So we're gonna get our hanger over our new exhaust. Now we're gonna get this exhaust up by putting the muffler hanger in the back, or what would be the muffler hanger for the factory. Get that in there first and maneuver it into our front pipe. Now this is also where you may run into an issue where maybe you didn't cut enough off and you need to cut more back. Let's just see what we can do here. All right, so we're gonna feed this in. Just like so. We could just hook our hanger back here up on our subframe. And also, as you can see, I forgot to mention, I did have our clamp over, just resting over there. But now we can go ahead and do the same thing for the other side. So getting the other side on was just a little bit more difficult because of where the angle of the cut is. What I actually did was I removed the rear hanger from the body. It's just two 13mm bolts, and you'll see a hook on the top here that locks into the body up like so. We're just gonna reinstall that now. Hang that back up, reinstall our two 13mm bolts. And then we can start tightening down our exhaust clamps. So we're gonna start tightening our clamps, starting from the front, working our way backwards. We have our impact and 15mm socket. We'll tighten our two factory clamps down here. Next, we have our two clamps at the cuts that we made. So we're gonna tighten them down here. We have our impact and 16mm socket. So here we have our four 13mm bolts, two for our hanger, two for our bracket for our cover. We'll get our 2-inner hanger first. Just gonna thread everything in and then we'll tighten it all down at the same time. Hook that back up. And we'll grab our ratchet with our extension and 13mm swivel socket and tighten them all down. Lastly, we just have our tips. We're gonna slide that on. You can adjust this however you want. Just make sure it is straight up and down. We're gonna grab our impact and 10mm socket, tighten this down. Then you go ahead and do the same thing for the other tip. And that wraps up our install of our Muffler Delete axle back exhaust system with polished tips for our 2024 newer Mustang GT without active exhaust. And remember, for everything Mustang, keep it right here at AmericanMuscle.com.